shocks over this compression point. Woo! And we're gonna do that trail turn assist again. Trail turn assist on. Yeah, the trail, woo! We basically just drifted that. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'm doing an off-road comparison with the new Ford Bronco Raptor and the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392. Now I'm actually working with TFL to create an awesome video that is going to be on their channel. It's gonna be a beautiful cinematic video with tons of exterior shots. So if you want to see that video, I'll include a link to their channel in the description down below. Go subscribe to them, but at the same time, if you're watching my channel, you probably are already subscribed to them because they're a lot bigger than me. But my video is just going to be a point of view off-road video. I'm going to talk about both of the vehicles as someone who owns the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392, owns a Gen 3 Ford Raptor and a Ram TRX, and basically tell you guys if the Bronco Raptor is actually worth it and just which of these two is the best off-roader. With that being said, let's get into it. We're starting off in the Wrangler now. I'm in the process of, oh, there we go, sway bar disconnected. So, I was gonna say, I'm in the process of disconnecting the sway bar. Now this one we actually have in four-wheel low. I was driving the Bronco before this in four-wheel high, believe it or not. And that's just because that Bronco is pretty crazy. It's able to just go over terrain so well. Now here in the Wrangler, what I'm noticing, and we'll talk more about the Bronco when I drive that in a second, is this definitely has more of an old school off-roader type feel to it. Every bump, every rock, you kind of feel what's happening. The Wrangler sways from side to side. There's a bit more creaking in the interior too with the Wrangler. And both of these are pretty new vehicles. That Bronco's got 2,400 miles on it. This has 1,800 miles on it. So it's not like either of them would be creaking from, you know, being old and used, right? Other stuff here. The Wrangler sounds so good. It just that V8 is just fantastic. And what I'm noticing here is I don't necessarily have, I'd say like a massive amount of higher speed confidence here in the Wrangler. Again, I just kind of want to slowly go over things. But one thing to mention is this vehicle has so much ground clearance, 12.9 inches of ground clearance. And so, like, you don't even think about, you know, whether you're going to be able to go over something. And also the solid axles too. The articulation takes care of everything. So what I'm noticing with this is I stay pretty level as the driver. I pretty much stay upright, which is great. Now, comparing this to the Bronco Raptor, again, 12.9 inches of ground clearance. Bronco Raptor has 13.1 inches. This has 35s, the Bronco has 37s. This has solid front rear axles. The Bronco Raptor has independent front suspension and then a solid rear axle. And so you feel it, especially on the trail, because with this, I'm having to actually correct the steering quite a bit more. And the thing that's funny is Jeep steering doesn't make sense on road because you track all over the place. But off-road, Jeep steering makes a ton of sense because it works. Like this, having to like do all these movements and everything, you guys noticing my hands constantly doing things, it actually works quite a bit. So it's kind of surprising. Front camera helps out quite a bit. You guys can see we got the rear camera too, so we can see like the Bronco behind us. Something else I'm noticing here at the Jeep, seats definitely pretty hard. You have to like sit upright in these seats with like really good posture. You can't really slouch or anything in them or you're gonna get uncomfortable pretty quick. And other thing is like this interior feels smaller compared to the Bronco Raptor. Like this vehicle definitely feels a lot smaller, but the interior also feels smaller as well. There's kind of that key difference. Man, there's so many people that say that you don't need this 392 V8, but the torque, even, I mean, this goes up to 12,000 feet elevation is what Tommy with TFL was telling me. And even at this elevation, this thing doesn't struggle at all. It's just, we're low RPMs just torquing up the hill. It is an absolute blast, let me tell you. And you know what? Again, with the suspension setup on this on the road, it wallows side to side with the shocks. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense on road because you're constantly like going from one lane to the other, but off-road, it works really well. It actually makes this pretty comfortable for a vehicle that has solid axles. And again, these aren't crazy advanced shocks. These are just Mopar shocks that have been stretched out to work with the lift that the Xtreme Recon has. This has like a 2.5-inch lift over a regular Rubicon. And one thing to mention is these tires actually do a pretty good job of getting rid of these rocks. This is definitely different terrain compared to what I'm used to in Utah. In Utah, it's wide open desert, and these, you don't get a lot of rocks like this. It's a lot of the terrain that we go over is just like sandy. That's what we have to deal with a lot in Utah, is sand. Steep inclines like this, but lots of sand. And so I can see why, you know, airing down super important for this kind of terrain, which we actually didn't air down today, funny enough. But also just, yeah, having smaller wheels, 17-inch wheels like what this has, and having at least 35s, because the tire kind of acts as like a second shock absorber. Now to finish things up with the Jeep, I'm just gonna get up to a little bit of a higher speed for a second. I just want to quickly see these shocks over this compression point. Woo! So just higher speed for just a couple seconds. Yeah, you can definitely tell that this was more meant for the slower speed rock crawling. Again, it can handle it pretty well, but I can start to feel the Jeep kind of wallowing all over the place. And again, that's not high speed. I'll have a high speed video in the Utah desert pretty soon here with the 392. But you know, in terms of like middle speed, it does a pretty good job. So to make things even for this initial part, I'm actually gonna have this in 4-wheel low. I will switch to 4-wheel high a little bit later on in the driving, but I just want to see how both of these feel in 4-wheel low at high elevation, and you know, comparing the powertrains and everything. Now what I'm noticing first off is I definitely have to get into the throttle a little bit more here with the Bronco Raptor compared to the Wrangler, again both in 4-wheel low. So even though we're at high elevation where you think a naturally aspirated engine would not do nearly as well, that engine just has so much torque. And you know, as they always say, there's no replacement for displacement. Now, something that I noticed, funny enough, is I paid very close attention to the fuel gauges with both these vehicles before we left because they were both full of fuel. And the Bronco Raptors actually burned through more fuel than the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392, driving from our starting location all the way up here to the mountains and everything. So it looks like that Wrangler in the real world is actually more economical, believe it or not, than the Bronco Raptor. Now, the other thing I'm noticing here, driving them back to back, is this just feels so much more comfortable compared to the Wrangler. The Wrangler, you definitely just want to take it at a slow pace, whereas this, I feel like I'm holding myself back, believe it or not. I feel like I'm going slower than I need to be, which is definitely an interesting feeling. You just want to you want to go faster here in the Bronco Raptor. And these Fox shocks, yeah, seriously, they do an amazing job with just the little rocks and everything. Again, it has 37s, and they do an amazing job with just getting rid of all of the bumps. And then the shocks too. It's like the tires and the shocks both. They just get rid of everything. It's great. It really is. Now that I've felt the torque here, I'm actually going to pop into neutral, go into 4-wheel high. Now, this thing that I like about the Bronco Raptor compared to the Wrangler is I can just shift into, come on, go into 4-wheel high. I was going to say I can shift on the fly pretty quick. There we go. It goes through the driveline like way better than the Wrangler. The Wrangler, to get into 4-wheel low and out of 4-wheel low, you got to be in neutral, rolling forward a little bit, whereas this is just on the fly with everything. Same thing with the lockers. So I think that for somebody who's not as experienced with off-roading and, you know, is just kind of like just jumping into a vehicle, I think this is, despite the size difference, I think this is actually easier. Now, that being said, what I've noticed here with the Bronco Raptor, despite the fact that it has a little bit more ground clearance than the Wrangler, because it doesn't articulate as well, it definitely seems like the Wrangler, and this switchback is really showing me this. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like the Wrangler's way more comfortable on the slower speed stuff, which is kind of what everyone guessed, right? The Wrangler's more suited for crawling, whereas this is more suited for the high speed type terrain. And so speaking of high speed type terrain, we're gonna kind of get up and move a little bit here. Feel some compression. Woo! Yeah, see, this is what the Wrangler can't do. That is a big difference between both of these. Yeah, that is fun. So we're heading back down in the Raptor. And here's one thing that I have to say is, this is definitely quite a bit to handle because of the size. Woo! We just, the GoPro view probably just jumped a little bit because we just caught a little bit of front end air there. But yeah, see, this is the difference, is like in the Wrangler, I'm not gonna be driving like this at all. I'm just gonna be kind of slowly going down the trail and then kind of like leisurely going down. I'm actually gonna use the trail turn assist here. Oh no, wait, that's the stabilizer bar disconnect. Apparently I don't know my functions. Okay, trail turn assist on. So that should, in theory, make this turn a little bit easier. Let's try not to fall off the edge. Wow, that actually helps out quite a bit. Man, the travel on this. So this is the type of stuff you have to do with the Bronco Raptor, is basically on regular trails, you're probably gonna go a little bit faster, but you're gonna be going from throttle to brakes. You're gonna go through quite a bit more fuel. And that's the way to have fun with this, frankly, is you've got to be doing slightly higher speeds. Yeah, I'm shocked at how just well this is handling all this. Yeah, the Jeep's all the way back there. Just pitter patter. And hey, you know what? I can talk as much crap on the Jeep as I want because, well, I personally own it, so. I don't know if anyone's ever gone down this pass as quick as what I'm doing right here. Maybe in a side-by-side. But I've got to like stop with all these, all these bumps. Yeah, the impressive part is the longer amounts of compression. In the Wrangler, really have to slow down. And we're gonna do that trail turn assist again. Trail turn assist on. Yeah, the trail, woo! We basically just drifted that. This thing is awesome. My goodness, I am having an absolute blast. See, I guess this will help me sum things up here at the Bronco Raptor off-road. In the Wrangler, I feel like I have to do some hardcore off-road, rock crawling rather, I can't talk apparently, rock crawling to have fun with that. Like, I've got to do some Moab type stuff to have fun with that. And you know, on trails like this, the fun is like the scenic views. The Bronco Raptor, on the other hand, despite the width, I feel like I can still have fun on this trail because of the crazy speed that I can go over these bumps and everything with the travel. Oh my goodness. Like, this is an absolute, and it just handles it. Like, yeah, we're feeling the bumps a bit. Okay, you know what? Here's the deal. I will never sell that Wrangler because V8, and it's amazing at crawling, but after experiencing that trail turn assist fun, and after doing this trail with TFL, if I can get a Bronco Raptor, I'm gonna buy a Bronco Raptor. This thing is just unreal. Yeah, and you guys probably want me to pick a favorite. I can't. I know that's a cop-out, but you know, despite the width, I've gotten used to the width, and I've taken my, you know, F-150 Raptor on trails like this. With the trail turn assist and everything, like, the width doesn't bother me. So this is a new type of off-roading that I don't think I've ever experienced before, because I can carry speed and I've got maneuverability, and yeah, this is This is my favorite Raptor off-road.